Greenberg filed a motion today asking the state's attorney's office to make a request to all witnesses involved in this case to preserve all emails, texts, and social media posts. Greenberg accusing also Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx of having behind-the-scenes conversations with attorney Michael Avenatti, who says he represents some of the victims in this case. And R. Kelly's lawyer wants access to any and all communication coming out of Foxx's office. He feels the timing of the charges filed against R. Kelly is suspicious.
Thank you all for gathering. The recent allegations against entertainer R. Kelly and the recent Lifetime docuseries are deeply, deeply disturbing. It is our job here at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office to investigate claims in the interest of justice and of public safety. I should stress that it takes the courage to relive and repeatedly re-experience trauma by telling your story of sexual victimization. But we rely heavily on victim accounts and witness statements to prosecute cases involving sexual assault and domestic violence. I'm here today to encourage victims of sexual assault or domestic violence related to these allegations to please get in touch with our office. Please come forward. There is nothing that can be done to investigate these allegations without the cooperation of both victims and witnesses. We cannot seek justice without you. Yes, concerns from family members regarding contact their family members with Mr. Kelly over the course of the last couple of years.
Have you talked to Mr. Kelly about any of these allegations?
I have not. Certainly. I understand that fear. As a survivor of sexual assault myself, the fear and the trauma of coming and sharing your story, not just with one individual, not just with one prosecutor, the notion of having to come and publicly make allegations is incredibly daunting. What I will say is that if we are going to take these allegations seriously, it requires, this isn't one of those situations where it's just forensics. We need actual witnesses and victims to have the courage to tell their stories. If they have concerns about further victimizations of others, it becomes necessary to have the courage to come forth and tell what happened. We cannot do anything related to these allegations without the cooperation of victims and witnesses, and that is why I'm here today, to encourage anyone who has information to please come forward. I was sickened by the allegations. I was sickened as a survivor. I was sickened as a mother. I'm sickened as a prosecutor. I worked in this office for a number of years, including in 2008. And so the allegations were not new to me. But I think listening to survivors and giving a platform for survivors to be able to tell their stories was heartbreaking.
You can speak for a woman like a woman.
Despite the public backlash and accusations from as high up as the mayor that Jussie Smollett's celebrity influence and power played a role in the charges against him being dropped, Kim Foxx maintains that his case was not treated any differently than similar cases.
I'm Tina Chen. I am formerly Chief of Staff to First Lady Michelle Obama, and I was also the Executive Director of the White House Council on Women and Girls for President Obama.
Tina Chen, former Chief of Staff to Michelle Obama, reached out to Kim Foxx on behalf of the Smollett family, saying they have concerns about the investigation. In the exchanges, Foxx seen trying to get the case turned over to the FBI. Texting Chen, "I make no guarantees, but I'm trying."
There's all this pressure. There was a so-called documentary which was really just a hatchet job that was done. And then they indicted these cases. And the problem is there was this call from the prosecutor. People call, let us know what happened. And so far, from what I can tell, the only people who called all of a sudden ended up with Michael Avenatti as their lawyer.
Michael Avenatti is lashing back at Steve Greenberg on Twitter today, saying that Stephen Greenberg, R. Kelly's attorney, is now trying to distract attention away from the clear guilt of his client by raising bogus arguments about me and Kim Foxx. The evidence is the evidence. Multiple witnesses, tapes, plus DNA. R. Kelly will be convicted for his sexual abuse of girls. R. Kelly again charged with 10 counts of criminal sexual abuse involving 4 different women, 3 who say they were underage at the time that this allegedly took place.
Lied to you. Facebook lied to you. Radio lied to you. Radio fuck you.
Earlier today, Robert Kelly was indicted before a Cook County grand jury on 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse involving 4 victims. The first victim, initials HW, was involved in incidents which occurred between May 26, 1998 and May 25, 1999. A grand jury returned an indictment on 4 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victim being under the age of 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than the victim. The second victim, initials RL, was involved in an incident which occurred between September 26, 1998 and September 25, 2001. A grand jury returned an indictment on 2 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victims being under the age of 17 and Robert Kelly being more than 5 years older than that victim. The third victim, initials LC, was involved in an incident which occurred February 18, 2003. A grand jury returned an indictment on 1 count of aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the transmission of semen by Robert Kelly upon any part of the body of the victim for the purpose of sexual gratification during the course of an underlying felony of attempt criminal sexual assault. The fourth victim, initials JP, was involved in incidents which occurred between May 1st, 2009.
Why do you know how to kill people?
I watch Lifetime.
Okay.
My grandma put me on time. I used to be in my grandma watching Lifetime all day. And since a child, I just been watching. That's the only channel I watch in the news.
I bet you're threatening to kill.
Wondering about you. Do you like teenage girls?
When you say teenage, how are we talking?
Girls who are teenagers.
19?
19 and younger.
I have some 19-year-old friends, but I don't like anybody illegal if that's what we're talking about, underage.
Some people think that you like underage girls. What do you say to them?
Well, those people that don't know Robert, they don't know me, so. I usually don't get into what people think about me, because all my career, even before the trial, people have had their opinions about Robert, and that's probably because it has a lot to do with me. I kind of shy away from the crowd, because I'm always in the studio, digging deep into the basement all the time of my house, creating music. So, people, when they don't know you and they can't really touch you like they could someone else, they seem to form opinions or have thoughts about you that they like to, think. So
some of the people who have worked with you have said that there's an issue here. Your former manager has said publicly that there's an issue of concern here. Your brother Kerry has said there's an issue of concern here.
Issue of concern? What do you mean when you say issue of concern?
They've said that they're concerned that you like underage girls.
Let me put it to you this way, man. Unfortunately, the people that don't work for me says that. The people that do work for me don't say that. And the people that don't work for me were fired. If you had someone work for you and they're mad because they're not working for you anymore, and they're used to getting a certain amount of money, or they're used to getting a certain amount of fame because they work for you because you're famous, and all of a sudden they mess you around and then you let them go. Anything that comes up about you, they're gonna run and say, yeah, he did that to me. I knew this too about him. But you really can't, I don't want you, I don't want BET, I don't want my fans. Do not listen to the people that was fired. Don't even listen to the people that was hired. Listen to the facts and get into what you think and make your own opinions. If you're gonna have an opinion about me, have your opinion about what you may think about me. What you definitely don't do is go by somebody that was fired and they're mad and pissed off at me because they were fired.
But your brother Kerry was not fired. He's still your brother.
Yeah, he was fired.
But he's still your brother.
Doesn't matter. He's still my brother, but if he was still my brother, why did he get fired?
Why did he get fired?
I can't get into that.
Okay, fair enough. But
let me just say this. We may fire each other, but I fired him 1,000 times and rehired him.
Yeah.
But hey.
Bricks. All about that. I'm out here getting to the money like a dope boy. Got connections out of town like a dope boy. Lambo making soda white like a dope boy. And I'm all about that life like a dope boy. I got all these bitches feeling like a dope boy. And the sand is steady ringing like a dope boy. Lord, please forgive me how I'm living. I was born to drive a whip with no ceiling. I'm allergic to being broke, ain't no options. I'm all about the green, extra black. Precisely like flipping this money, best of 15 in the first. Got your phone call, and it once now I gotta stop. Baby girl, I only got time for them dollars. Getting to the money like a phone.
Now, if you listen to these narratives being pushed, they want you to believe that R. Kelly has this history of abuse, right? But we can just breeze through what their main source has documented for us, because he's detailed all the ones he claims to have gotten stories from, and even the ones from now. It's my belief that he is the one who linked all of these individuals together. We can't overlook these key people who were involved in this whole narrative and who fed this to the prosecutor. So when they ask why we keep talking about surviving R. Kelly, it's obvious that before surviving R. Kelly, contrary to what the narrative is, there is no documented history of abuse from this man. There is a documented history of settlements being reached, and that's a whole different story. But let's fast forward and go on, because from 2009, the end of his trial, there was nothing reported by this key source until 2017, when he gets an email from Tim Savage, who was contacted by Asante McGee. The fact that Asante McGee has been called out left and right, and this was their primary source of information, should send red flags. Now, we all know that somewhere along the line, Asante McGee transformed from someone within R. Kelly's camp, his inner circle, to an alleged victim. And it's funny to see these so-called other accusers come out and pretty much blast Asante on the basis of she was older. And that's very ironic if you ask me, considering, as we've pointed out all this time, with these older women being in the mix, it kind of throws off the whole narrative that this man is a pedo, right? Now, with all the corruption we see surrounding this case, prior to the feds taking it over, it should be red flags everywhere in everybody's mind. For the simple fact, I've seen cases dismissed for lesser things being pointed out. So the fact of the matter is, it shouldn't be so concerning about certain updates that come about this case, because we see clear as day exactly why Prosecutor Kim Foxx suggested this case to the FBI, and that's because she knew her case had fallen apart, and she jumped in bed with a dog, right? As some of us saw early on in the indictment, Asante McGee allegedly saw Azriel Clary, which would give weight to her claim that she was a minor. However, if you just go down the timeline and you realize that Joy was allegedly in college around this time, so it would make it illogical to believe her as they want you to just go and do. It's kind of illogical to bypass the fact that she tried to implicate Joycelyn in this whole thing, which is the same tactic they've been using from the beginning. They make these outlandish claims against other people, drawing them in the mix. Do we see this pattern? So with all that said, it would not surprise me if this case is eventually dismissed, thrown out, or whatever the case may be, as other people have speculated upon, mainly because of all the corruption and all the false narratives they have swarmed around this case, making all of their so-called witnesses and alleged accusers seem very much like liars. Now, it's not for us to sit here and bash them. It's just for us to point out the inconsistencies in their stories. And even if you go back to Lifetime and you read the wording in these indictments, you will clearly see that they obviously worded this and criminalized certain actions which these ladies didn't even describe as a criminal action. In conclusion, you don't have to believe absolutely anything coming from this channel, because as I've stated from the beginning, I challenge you to come with some documented facts to disprove anything that I've presented to you. I can only go by what I see, and according to R. Kelly's background, he does not have a history of abuse. He has a history of people trying to use him as a cash cow. Period. Point blank.